SBA EIDL Loan increase update 2 million. What's happening there? The SBA loan interest rates today in this market. What's happening? What's shifting? Where you should move into? The PPP loan update, employee retention credit, the 10 billion in grants, business loans, and equity. A lot of stuff has been evolving and has been coming open to the public in certain states, and so much more in business loan broker expert tips I will be uncovering in this video. So make sure you stick with me until the very end so you get the most juiciest details on what you should be doing right now and then focusing on in the future with this impending recession, how to be more prepared and bootstrapped for having better cash flow, managing your money, your expenses, business operations, sales and marketing, the accounting, the financing side, and so much more. My name is Michael with Viral Funding Solutions. And if you're watching me right now, please give me a hashtag live in the comments or a hashtag replay if you're watching during that time interval. I do get a lot of responses, so I'll try to comment appropriately later on. Appreciate you all for being here. Happy Monday. I hope you had a great, amazing, it was fulfilled. You went out there, you hung out with family and friends. Maybe you just went to the grocery store on a Sunday or on a Friday or on a Thursday, so you wouldn't get jammed with traffic and waiting in those lines. And above all, you had an amazing time, because I know I did. I just hung out with family and pretty much was more of a homebody this weekend. And then got some work done on Saturday, got out a little bit into the sun, went on a jog walk and did all those sorts of things. But I want to get right into this. I don't want to rant on anything. If you guys have been watching other content out there, and I've been, a lot of people rant. I don't know if you would agree with me, but I see it a lot. Like, can you just get to it? And there's moments where you shouldn't just get to the point. So what's happening right now with the EIDL loan? There has been a lot of discussion and letters being sent from the U.S. Senate to the Administrator Guzman from the SBA. She's the one who handles all of this. Right, what we've seen with the stoppage of the SBA EIDL, what's been processed, what has not been. People are still stuck in the queue, and what that means is if you were to submit your EIDL reconsideration, your loan modification, your appeal, your increase, etc., before the May 6th deadline or on the May 6th deadline, because they gave you up until that day, then those are the files that will be considered, hopefully moving forward. But we're not so sure right now because of everything happening with the interest rates, our economy, trying to curb off inflation, going into higher basis points, which I'm going to cover right now, what's happening with the Federal Reserve. So keep that open-minded, that there's still a lot to be worked on there. And I may get into the share screen here in a moment to show you the letter, or I'll just go over what has been said and some of the things to look out for. So the interest rates have moved up by a basis of 0.75, and where we once were before at around 4.5, 4.7, it has then moved up to 5.5. And that number I expected to move up even higher in the 6.5 or so and above. Now, that shouldn't be as alarming to you because you shouldn't be fixated on interest rate. One of the big reasons right now you shouldn't be fixated on interest rates is because the benefit, like always, has to exceed your repayment. If you've heard me say this time and time again, I know I sound redundant. Some of you may have emailed me, why are you sending me the same thing? It's just, well, it takes you about 7 to 11 times to fully understand. And if you just heard it once, you probably wouldn't believe it. Or second, you'd probably be like, yeah, so what? 3 times, you're like, yeah, I heard it. I'm going to try to do something about it. 4 times, you're like, I'm just too busy. And excuses after excuses come up. I see it play out every single day. I sent people email responses over the weekend. So one thing I want to make note of, if you haven't done this yet, down below in the description is a free questionnaire you can fill out to get a very personalized and customized email response on your best funding option and options. Very thoroughly broken down like no other. So organized. I've been getting a lot of rave and feedback, especially last week more than ever. And I've had it time and time again. But people are saying it's so damn organized. And the way you laid it out for me, I'm so thankful. There's so much information. Yes, it can feel overwhelming, but you're guiding me. You're giving me a roadmap. You're giving me a conclusion on what I should do. And I sent out about 40 or so this Saturday, and I was on my ASS. I was on my grind, and I was very analytical that day. I worked so hard with my brain that I was so exhausted, and my family would be like, "What? when they saw me later on, they were like, "Why are you tired?" I'm like, "Well, I had to work really hard up here." And so I shut my mouth, went to work for about 4 to 5 hours. And if you're one of those yet that I have to complete the questionnaire form for, please be patient. I will get to you. I get flooded with them. And I'm not just saying that, I mean it in a very respectful way that I'll take the time. It's just when your time comes, you'll know. So I prefer when you fill out that questionnaire, you submit it the way it needs to be appropriately. It is very safe and secure with myself. And I'll ask for a number. So please, mobile preferred. The reason why that is, I'll follow up with the text. Hi, your name. I just sent you an email with the subject line. Please look for it. This will have all your options. Boom. Simple. Bye. Like, I'm not going to be a harassment to you. I won't pressure you. I won't harass any of that, heckle you. Just look for that email. Don't be an individual who submits the questionnaire I work hard for to submit it back to, and you just disappear. Don't do that. If you think I'm just another person who's going to tell you differently, or, oh, this is what already has happened in the past, so I know I'm already expecting to get this, so I'm just going to half ASS it when I fill out this questionnaire. Don't even do it. Or just do it, but you know there'll be something different. And if it's not anything different, it'll open your eyes to what you should be doing, what people don't tell you to do. I'm honestly almost getting almost to that point where it's like, you have to understand that this is the process and this is the most effective way. This is the best way you're going to see, because not every phone call can I be as specific like I was with a few today. If you're one of them, I have to be a little bit more vague, but that email conveys so much, everything broken down that you need to know. It's customized. So those are the two. EIDL, currently we're trying to see what happens maybe sometime after more interest rate spikes, but not even, it's going to be hard during the 3 to 6 months that we're going to hit, maybe, but it's a tough sell. It may be something that comes back post this year, perhaps beginning, if it does, if anything. And there's still some works on like the advanced grants, but there's nothing really moving. A lot of that money has been moved to other COVID relief bills. So that's what you should know about. And if you're watching this, I didn't broadcast it out to you. So this is more of a spontaneous, and I try to go live on Mondays to give you guys an update. So the interest rates for the SBA 7A, prime rates plus 1 to 4 or 5%, meaning you're looking at about 7 to 9% interest, or 7 to 12% in some cases if it's variable. Variable can be a little bit higher. And in today's market, the variable interest is a bigger factor. Over 90% of the SBA 7A loans are based off of variable interest rates now. That number has increased as our market has changed, as interest rates have gone up, as industries have become more difficult, as banks aren't lending as much traditionally. The lenders can't get their money from the banks. That's one way to disperse to you. So the SBA can work with the banks different ways. So credit unions, all of this, you see a lot of this tightening. So I won't get too specific on the SBA 7A loan product here. I've released content on it. Look down below in the description for the SBA EIDL versus the SBA 7A. And I've also done SBA EIDL versus unsecured term loans, merchant cash advances, private lending options, and so much more. So that will be down below. And I've actually done a video today earlier on the SBA 7A or SBA loan options of 2022. So I may be releasing that as it comes. But if it's not something that's doable, don't be stuck on it. Don't be stuck on a fixated monthly repayment with an interest rate of 5 to 9%, even if you could get it. It's about the benefit. Does the funds that you get exceed the repayment? Is the benefit up here and your repayment down there? And if it isn't, it would never make sense for you to move forward. I spoke with a couple of business owners today. I was going over the SBA options. I went over the questionnaire. So I gave them a call. They wanted to explain their situation to me a little bit more. And a lot of the times a phone call isn't necessary, guys. What I would ask for you in that questionnaire is to be more specific. And then I'll ask you it in the questionnaire if there wasn't anything there. And then there will be times where a call is necessary. But a lot of this can be done like that. You can look from the thank you page, you can get started. And then when you get that email too, you can get started from right then and there. But a lot of business owners, I get it. We're very old school. And sometimes we need it. You want to make sure there's not a robot behind it. And there isn't. It's me doing all this. So just be aware that just because you see a medium to higher rate doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Does the benefit exceed your repayment? Nothing more. And if you're complaining, that means you're just not being strategic enough. If you're demanding longer terms, you probably didn't get the amount of funding you wanted, or you are like, okay, I got enough of it. You just don't know. Maybe you didn't need a longer term for this one project or projects, but you could have done this in about 6, 7 months, or in 8 months, 8 to 12 months, maybe 1 to 2 years. But because you weren't strategic, you didn't understand your bookkeeping, you didn't understand your accounting. Now you're in a place where you have to wait now like 2 weeks so you can go check. If you do it, if you have outsourced it, which we usually do, but now you're pushing out time that could have been taken care of like that. You came to me without an understanding of strategically how this would help you produce an ROI in the short term and or the long term. These are not just things I say, I deal with every day. I ask you the questions. What will be your gross revenue, if anything, in about 3 months? Would you think it'd go up? Would it be something that stays the same? You think it will go down based upon this? Well, I think it'll go down. See, it doesn't make sense. The benefit will never exceed your repayment. And so maybe a line of credit. But if you qualify for a line of credit, great. If you don't, well, we got to look at other alternative options. They may not be the most attractive and fastest way to receive funding, but they could happen. Could, with a quote unquote, because they're not always the easiest to get as well. So you have to raise your FICO, time in business, your revenue, your annual gross revenue and sales, your profitability, your net income, even in that case, the profitability on your tax returns, the profitability on your projections in 2 to 3 years. Like I spoke to a business owner today in the restaurant space, 30% profitability if they opened up another location for pizza and bowling, which is pretty cool. I like the combination of the two. I love bowling, to be honest with you. So that'd be probably something I can go check out in the future. Be awesome. But 30% profitability at a minimum of 10% with an SBA 7A loan, or 10 to 15, if not 15 to 20%. SBA 7A loans require stronger credit, minimal credit utilization. And if you're using a whole lot of it, better pay off quick and not continue to do it and make late payments, minimal inquiries, credit utilization ratio, as I just mentioned, debt to income. We look at the debt to service ratio and we look at the profitability, and we can determine the two and say, hey, this is how much we can actually fund you for. But before I get too sidetracked on any of that, just have that understanding. And please look out for your email if you submitted a questionnaire. Don't be that person. Nobody has the time or energy for that. Nobody has any time for somebody who submits a questionnaire. They receive a response back. Like sometimes I don't get to it as quick. I'm flooded. So, and that's the difference when you come to somebody who's a professional, somebody who is at the top of what they do. And I'm not saying that to be cocky. I'm confident and really certain how I can help you. And I'm very humble and respectful of your energy and your time. So I hope you're the same with me. You listen very carefully and you speak when you need to speak. And that's not to be aggressive. Don't take that the wrong way. It's not negativity. When I raise my tonality, because I care about you. And I will have to be the one, and I have to be the one who gives you the tough love. I will do it because I care. Other people, ridiculous what they do. And I don't want to get into that because a lot of people are fluff and full of scam and they don't even know their stuff. So I have a little bit of information here that I want to cover. And then let me flip on over to my share screen in a moment. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, please voice them for me. I will try to answer as I go. And if I don't answer them right away, I will get back to it at the end. So a little bit of something that's happened with the EIDL. On the letter side, I have documentation of it here, and I have the actual letter. So it just goes into a little bit about what the U.S. senators and a mix of a few different people on what they were saying. One second, I got to switch to the tab. So, dear Administrator Guzman, and this is to the Honorable Isabella Casillas Guzman from the United States Senate. We write today to ask the Small Business Administration, SBA, to resume processing COVID economic injury disaster loans applications that were received prior to the agency's May 6, 2022 request deadline, and to ensure that applicants with outstanding appeals receive due consideration. While we recognize the agency has assisted in an unprecedented number of small business throughout the pandemic, our offices continue to hear from thousands of prospective borrowers, and a lot of this is coming from the state of Ohio, and I've looked at it even deeper, way deeper. This is stuff you guys can't even find because I talked to my loan officers. But I don't want to get too far ahead of that. Just know that a majority of people in Ohio, even strikes, a lot of stuff is happening. I haven't even gotten into the details. Some of the stuff I cannot just disclose easily because they told me not to, and the lenders don't want me to release it publicly. So for that, I cannot, sincerely. So we also continue to hear from EIDL applicants, like I just mentioned, with disputed rejections who have received no communication from the administration in months. EIDL was a lifeline for businesses throughout this pandemic, but many of them continue to struggle. The program is too important to shut down prematurely, which I agree. Been there. While funds remain, we accept SBA. That's the key words. While funds still remain. So it's not like they've exhausted. Think about it as a chamber. They've not exhausted that chamber completely, like water that's leaking out. It's completely drained. There's still water in there. In this scenario, there's still money in that vault or in that chamber. The thing is, they're being restrictive of how they're distributing that money, especially with the banks tightening up with how they need to allocate their money. With that being said, other COVID relief fundings are opening because of this. And that's what prompted it to spend a majority of the money that's supposed to be pumped into the EIDL to go into these other services. And so that's why those are available more now than ever. Now, let me go back. There's more details in that I cannot disclose. While funds remain, we expect SBA to process all eligible applications and appeals that have been submitted by the request deadline, the May 6th deadline, as I said earlier. Nearly 4 million borrowers have benefited from the EIDL program, you can see, including during the most, and I've spoken about this before, during the most difficult period of the pandemic when businesses could not obtain credit from other lenders. True. Thanks to the program, millions of business owners were able to keep their enterprises running, and enterprises, LLCs, S corps, C corps, this goes on, businesses generally, and adjust to the changing dynamics of the pandemic. However, our offices have heard from many businesses that received conflicting or confusing instructions, which I get a lot too, as they applied for the program. Some business owners were asked to submit the same form multiple times and received assurances from an SBA representative that they were compliant, only to be told after waiting for weeks and months that they still fail to meet program guidelines. SBA's communication with borrowers has not met our expectations and has undermined public faith in the agency. So there's a little bit more. But up until this point, you're seeing that they're not being unfaithful, and I believe it. I see, and I've been there. You submit your documentation. What have they amended? Okay, well, they didn't amend these forms on time. Now that you have completed it and you returned it to them, you're hoping for a better response. And if that's the case, that should be happening. Hi, Mamacita. You are very welcome. Appreciate you for being here. How are you doing? Let me come back to this. So given that many applicants have not received final consideration, we find it difficult to understand the SBA's decision to stop processing requests, which is true. Like, at least give somebody the consciousness and subconsciousness of knowing whether they were approved for it or not. Don't leave people on the fence. Even at the end, when you get to like the finish line and you submit all the information and you submitted it even before the deadline, and now this is taking so much time. Like, there's so much uncertainty. At least let us know that much. Rather than processing every single applicant as it should, the agency has fallen back on a vague commitment to process workable applications. Based on this unsatisfying standard, our offices have seen far too many deserving applicants turned away by SBA. Workability is not an acceptable standard to justify receiving a borrower who is eligible in need, which is true. There's a little bit more subsets to that. The bar for denial is eligibility, not SBA's willingness to continue processing applications, which is true. When did they ever say that in the beginning, that if we have so many in the queue, we're going to stop processing applicants? Why not tell us that in the beginning? I get the market changes. I get some things arise and we can't control everything. But where's the fine details on all of this? Why don't you tell us? Instead of having these loose expectations when we get to a degree and we come to find out we are eligible or we're not, but we don't even know the answers. So it's not an acceptable standard. For that, we find it particularly troubling that your agency continues to tell our offices that loans cannot be completed due to exhaustion of funds when $800 million in the loan subsidy remains. $800 million. Did you guys hear how much was going out per day? Like millions per day. Then it points at billion when there were that much. So you see about $1 billion and so forth. So 800 million, they're going to be more, yes, 800 million, and you see probably about 1 million or so go out every single day. They're going to be more protective of who they fund. Now, will they receive more than 800 million to fund everybody that's still in the queue? Loads of people, by the way. That yet is to be determined on whether there will be additional funding to that 800 million. But that is something I'm going to let you guys know on when time comes. away from something on my screen. So enough to support more than 7 billion in lending is what it is. When 800 million in loan subsidy remains, that is enough to support the 7 billion in lending. So they respect the SBA will not approve every applicant. That's true, but at least let us know. But we expect that when someone is deemed ineligible, SBA will provide a specific, not some arbitrary piece of information that says you were just ineligible. But why? Go into more depth. SBA will provide a specific, unambiguous explanation for its decision. Anything short of that does not deserve any kind of a response. Or in these words, that does a disservice to the thousands of business owners who have been led to believe they have done everything right, only to be told that their application cannot be processed because the program has closed. The EIDL program has been a vital resource for struggling small businesses throughout the pandemic. But so long as eligible businesses remain unserved, SBA still has work to do, a lot of it. We expect you to ensure every deserving business that has submitted applications or appeals on time receive fair consideration. And underneath here are all the applications that I received a copy of. So there's a lot of information here, and there's also a lot of the recipients, and then you see a lot of the signatures down here from just a few, like Ben, Amy here, Debbie, Tim, of course, I'm not saying their last names here, Edward, MJ Markey now, Corey A. Booker, just a bit of the few of the senators you're going to see from all that's been signed. So now let me flip on over here. Let me see if there's anybody commenting, and I will continue for about another, how are we doing on time? 21 minutes. Okay. I apologize if it's dark. I have the HP lighting on my screen. Let me bring it back up. There it is. Nice to hear it. I definitely need your assistance to help with a small business loan. We need, sorry, this cuts off for me. Let me see this. Oh, I appreciate you. You're saying that you need more individuals like myself. I would hope there to be more, and I'm not just excluding myself. I want to include as many people that can do their job right. I don't want people who can do this thinking they can do it, but they only go half ASS at it. That is the honest truth. If you do a lot of video researches on this type of stuff, I go more in depth in a lot of it, and I have a lot of my resources from the officers and the lenders and with the SBA. Even if I don't completely process it all myself, I know what they're looking for, and I know what kind of feedback they can give me. I know what can be disclosed and what cannot be. So I try to bring my best efforts, not only with SBA, but I'm going to be getting into some of these sections here. Let me look over here. We have yet to talk about the SBA interest rates we already spoke about in a nutshell, what you guys are expecting to see there, and then that can raise up. So at a minimum of 7 or 7.5%, and that's including the prime rate, 5.5 plus 2 or so percent. That number at 7.5% minimum can be at about 8%, 8.5. And now you're seeing 8.5 to about 13%, even on fixed interest, not even speaking variable. Variables can be similar or a little bit higher, up to 15%. And I know how that sounds. That sounds crazy to a lot of people, but this is the world we're living in. And this is to help curb off inflation. And there's so much happening right now with the supply chain issues, the labor costs, the supplies and the demand. There's such a huge demand for everything that's causing all of this, and not enough supply. So when there's not enough of supply, but there's a huge demand for it, the prices just significantly go up. And your cash flow may suffer as a result for that. And so a lot of business owners right now are bootstrapping to prepare for any cash flow gaps in the future. And that's what you should be doing. Whether you can get a line of credit or not, you get a lump sum. What do you need to do right now? What is it that you need to get done in the next week, 2 weeks, month to 3 months? Look at it in a year to 2 years plus. What is your short-term return, your long-term return on your investments? So just a few notes that I wrote down here, and I want to make sure that I don't miss, is understanding, like I said, cash on hand is most important right now, and a lot of business owners are looking to get it, but not everybody can. It's hard to get approved through private lenders, let alone angel investors, private equity, and a few of those options right now. They've been hammering hard on accepting people. I know quite a few people who work in that space, and I will send people to them, and they tell me a lot of the information that's happening, what's doable and what isn't. Supply chain issues I already spoke about. A lot of businesses need raw materials, any kind of inventory supplies that you may need to complete a project or multiple projects, however small or big that is. You have to be prepared for that. And like I said in the beginning, what you need to focus on is the benefit needs to exceed the repayment, not the repayment over the benefit. I know a lot of business owners who, like today, I spoke with an individual on the phone. He thought getting 24 to 48% interest was quite a bit. And it is if you're not putting up any kind of collateral equity, you don't qualify for an SBA or you don't want that option at all. You can't qualify through a bank. The lenders have to assume 110% of the risk, no collateral. So what does that mean? Yes, it means you have to be willing to go with a medium to a higher rate. So what do you have to think about? Being more strategic. So it's not an EIDL loan. It's not always an SBA loan. It could be a cash advance. It could be an unsecured term loan. It could be a different line of credit that keeps the cost lower. That's what a lot of people want right now. You should be going for a line of credit if you don't have one. Increase your current ones that you have. And even if you don't qualify for one, we have a lump sum. Can you use that lump sum and repay it back in the time we're giving you? There's no benefit there. What I want you to remember, every time we revisit your offer, I'm going to ask you, do you remember why you need these funds? Oh, I needed it for marketing within the next season, the next 3 months. I'm going to be having a huge spike. I'm going to be doubling and tripling my profits, and I'm going to be able to add a little bit of that back into inventory. I'm going to have a few business operational expenses. So about 85% of my funds are going into a marketing project that's going to be producing to me 20 to 30% more in profits over time if we look at it in the long term. But in the short term, I'm going to be going from 40,000 a month to 60,000 in about 2 months. Being consistent over that for 3 to 4 months or the long term. But it's not about, well, I don't know. I don't know this. I don't know that. Let me go to the comments section here. Hi, Anna. How are you doing? The EIDL grant right now isn't something that's being like localized and being brought at the moment. So it wouldn't be something I'd bother with specifically. But all of this can be found by just doing a quick SBA EIDL grant search, and you'll find more information on it. But if anything does end up changing, you guys will know about it. Wesley, I covered this in the beginning. Perhaps you got in here a little bit later. But at this moment, it's up in the air. Like we'll see. I don't know if it'll happen because of the interest rates right now always continuing to rise. And in the next 1 to 3 plus months, who knows? It could be as soon as the next year if anything happens. There's just so much. And then the other COVID relief bills where they're being pumped money into, that it's the primary focus. It's hard to say, but I will always keep you up to date. And right now, there's been a letter that's been sent to the SBA with Guzman, and I will keep you guys up to date on what's happening on the back end. This has reached her, so she already has all the information, and she has to, like anytime, evaluate. Like every time she does, is look at all this, evaluate it, and give a proper response back. And so if anything is leaked, if anything goes out, I'll make sure I let you know. Sounds good. Appreciate it. So that's what I covered on this. Supply chain issues are ever so increasingly going high. Imports, domestically speaking, a lot of people are working more domestically than they are importing from outside of the country, especially in the trucking industry. I see a lot of supplies and a lot of warehousing, a lot of stuff being put in a warehouse. They've had to make a lot of new locations for it. And it's really affecting the demand as well at the same time. So really, what you want to do is calculate the cost of your debt. One thing that for sure is going to happen is you're going to have an increase in debt. You're going to have an increase in your monthly repayment and your daily, biweekly, weekly repayment. That's not a surprise, but it won't really necessarily affect your cash flow as much as you think it will or at all. What it comes down to is understanding cash flow, understanding what your average daily bank balances are. How much revenue do you generate? Oh, well, I have to pay back $400 a day, 3, 4, 5,000 a month. Well, you can sustain that if we gave you that offer. The thing is, you don't understand your finances. I may not say it to you, but it's the truth. You don't understand your finances well enough. So you have to go sit down, look at the whiteboard, think about, talk to your accountant, go through your bookkeeping, go through your software where you have all this information gathered, your budgeting, your expenses, how much overhead you're taking on, how much revenue, how much profitability you have, what is your take home. All of this stuff has to be included. And if you don't understand all of this, of course, you're going to be battling for the lowest price because you never understand. You never understood that you cannot get less than $100 in a day repayment. That does not make sense. That's not even for the best business owner will they get 100 and below. For the best, you may be looking at 200 to 250, 200 to 300, or even a little bit more. And more, 500, 600. You take more, a little bit more can go up. But you can sustain that. It's not bad. Just understand how to calculate your cost of debt, your debt service ratios. Understand the percentage of interest rates going up, what's being amortized on a weekly, monthly repayment, the annual interest rates. But just think about the benefit. Don't think about, oh, I'm scared. You're looking at a 30-year home mortgage. You're thinking about the EIDL loan. Don't think those two. Those two are separate. Don't think about the EIDL. Don't think about the 30-year home mortgage. I've said this a billion times already, and people will go, I'm sure if I put the replay out there, somebody will comment back, well, you just said this the other day, but how many times have you looked into it? Well, I never watched the video. Well, there you go. Go watch the video. Or I'm going to be spending here 3 hours on a phone call, or I'm going to be spending 3 hours trying to put an thoughtful email together, which is fine, but you didn't even take the first step and watch the video or read the blog post, or at least consider what I had to say in the email, but you're bitching and complaining. Nobody has energy and time for that. So I do care about you. I'm not saying that. I really do. I take a lot of time on these files, and you'll see it, how much of a human I am. And it's just like today I got a text message and I still have to respond back to a client. She didn't want an offer because she didn't want to put herself in a position where maybe 3 months from now she would be bridging too much of a cash flow gap. And so, she appreciated for not being anybody who pressures. I don't pressure anybody. I've never pressured one person. Never. And so I never pressure you. I never put you in an awkward position. I don't want you to feel like you have to take an offer when you can decline it. But I will most definitely make sense of it. And I'll say, hey, this is why this is it. This is the way it is. And just think about why you need these funds for. You're going to use it for that marketing project. You're going to invest 85% of your funds into that, and then the other 15 or so percent will go into inventory to replenish it, to pay off certain vendors, to get more supplies. What is your marginal difference? Do you have any marginal gains? How significant is it? So sit down with me and talk. Don't just ignore the fact. Some guy the other day, not responding back to me. We gave him about a $30,000 offer for about, what was it? I think it was just underneath 6 months, or just a little bit over. But the reasoning is because we have to look at credit, time in business, industry specifics, revenue, fluctuations, average daily bank balances. What do you think? We're going to give you 100,000? Doesn't prove to us you can afford that, especially the repayments. So 30,000 on a shorter amount of term, they just didn't want to take it because they wanted a longer term. Now, it would have made sense if you had longer projects and you actually needed that amount of time to complete them. So repaying your advance or your loan in 6 or so, however many months you were given, probably wouldn't make sense. It would hurt you rather than help you. Then okay. But if you're an individual who's saying, well, they only gave me 7 months. Well, let's go fix your FICO. Don't complain. Let's go fix your revenue. Don't complain. Time in business. Don't complain. Average daily bank balances, you only keep underneath 1,000. That looks negative to us. But you're depositing 40,000 and you're doing 35,000 in revenue per month. See, I have to look at all this stuff: credits, debits, transactions, starting, ending bank balances, types of withdrawals, types of additions, month to month. If I have to look at tax returns, I'll look at them. So don't be that person. Don't be hard to work with. That's all I'm saying. Don't be stubborn. Don't be a heckler. Don't be impatient. You're a business owner, an entrepreneur. Get used to it. If you haven't realized that yet, maybe you're just getting into business. And for those of you who are complete startups, if anybody else in here who's watching, who's been around in time with business, tell me, do you require patience? Do you require punctuality? Because I'm sure they'll tell you yes. See, I'm not a receptionist. I'm not you call a Fortune 500 company with 300 people. I'm a business loan broker expert independently who works from his heart, who puts himself in your position. I don't know if you put yourself in mine. If not, it's time to. But I put myself in your position 100% of the time. I do what's in the best interest for you, not myself. I don't look out for myself. I don't care if this product would have earned me more commission. I could care less. Why? Because the personal loan made more sense. That line of credit, you need it. Don't take the lump sum. I'll even tell you. No. I don't know who told you that. Stop paying attention to them. They just want to make money off of you. Sad, but it's true. So I approach it from a more human point of view. And if you guys don't like that, feel free to go speak to a robot, an automated system, or a person who just doesn't understand what they're doing correctly. They overpromise and underdeliver, because I won't do that. So more variable rates, I already spoke about that. Higher debt, we already went into quite a bit. Loan service ratios. So even if you're on a monthly repayment, whatever payment it is, it shouldn't drastically affect you or affect you at all. Everybody's in a different position, and you have to understand that. So let me come back over here, and we'll end this video in just a moment. Federal Reserve, I already spoke about that. I'm looking at it in my different tab, and I may open up a new one here just so I can show you guys. See if I can locate it. Yeah, I'll do it in a little bit towards the end. SBA interest rates we spoke about, Federal Reserve. And if you want to learn about other SBA options, down below in the description, microloans, 7A, 504s, segments on everything. Nobody else has material like I do online. I'm going to tell you guys that. And it is most up to date. You guys go find videos on this? Sure. Yeah, but you found it a year or 2 years ago. That could have changed. And they don't probably know it as specifically. Maybe you tried to reach out to them. They just didn't care. Or they didn't even know enough information to help you with. Maybe they just tried to, what's that word? They tried to bait and switch. They get you into something and then they show you something completely different. I won't do that. But I'm going to, sure as hell, I'm going to show you guys like, hey, if you don't qualify for this, these are the reasoning behind it. And there's so much you can't just see anywhere. You guys can't find it everywhere. And I'm going to say, hey, this is the best option. I'm going to give you a roadmap. That's why that questionnaire form, I'm going to show you guys in just a moment how it looks, is most important for you to fill out. But not just fill it out. Follow up. Give me feedback. I don't want you to just go cold. I don't pressure you. Hi, Michael. I'm not looking for funding right now. I just filled out the questionnaire form because I just want to see what my options are, but I want to come back in 3 months. Boom. Done. Good. Yes. Thank you. Appreciate you. Boom. Not. Oh, my God. 3 months go by. No feedback, but they took the time to fill out my questionnaire. They were even in depth about it. I submitted it back. They reached out 3 months later. I didn't find the email. I didn't find the text. Yes, you did. You just didn't look through it. Yes, you have the email. I just didn't look in your spam, promotion, social tab. You're just making excuses for yourself. You're just trying to buy yourself more time. I know the psychology of this. And if you're wondering why, I've received funding myself in multiple programs. So I know what it is like to have nothing in money, nothing in business. I didn't acquire a business. I didn't just get shown how to do this. I had to do it myself. I had to pick up my feet and do it. Put my head down for years and worked. I built a health affiliate marketing business as well as part of it being e-commerce. I call it a hybrid, helping people with back pain. That's where I began because I had some of myself and I didn't always have the best physique. So I was a Division I soccer athlete. And so I wanted to build a site around helping people with chronic pain, helping people with acute, subacute chronic pain. And so I built that business over time. And I put my head down. I blogged for a year plus on end, over a year. Not complaining, but seeing the vision. And the vision came to life because I put sweat into it. I worked. I didn't just say I was going to go spend money on ads like a lot of business owners do. I worked hard at it organically. And then I transferred over to spending and understanding the whole world of that. But I put my head down and I worked. And then I transferred into other business models and I opened up more. Aside from the digital marketing agency, aside from the affiliate stuff, e-commerce, I worked on this right now, business loan broker, and this is my primary focus. Those other ones run and I have to still go over there and pay attention to them. But I know what it is to be a business owner, an entrepreneur. So don't think you're fooling me. When you speak to me, You're not speaking to some financial advisor who doesn't understand how to build a business. You're not speaking to just some officer or some underwriter or some lender. You're speaking to somebody who's the real deal. And if I catch something that doesn't come out right, I will say very nicely in return. I won't never bash you or do anything wrong, but I will correct you. I will say something that in the defense of this is your belief, but this is the way you should be seeing it. I'll help you understand that. Because a lot of us do. We don't get the opportunity to have this. So PPP, we already saw spikes in interest. That'll only continue to. I'm only projecting that to happen, and I'm seeing it will with a lot of stuff right now. PPP, just loan forgivenesses. Like I've said before, I don't want to go too in depth on that. That's what you guys want to focus on if you haven't already, and make sure you get what you can get forgiven, if not everything. A lot of fraudulent activity, even more stories, even people that I've helped out that weren't truthful. Terrible. It's really bad. A lot of past default judgments and a lot of stuff that's just like overlooked. Excuse me. And a lot of that was based upon the PPP's status. That was based upon their standards too. So it's not always your fault, but you kind of knew beforehand what you were getting yourself into. The Employee Retention Tax Credit Program, that's where you can get up to $26,000 per employee. That's still going on. We can amend your forms, your 941X, your 941XS. And that's stuff that I can help you with payroll management experts. And you can get paid for that in a refundable tax credit. So it's pretty cool stuff. It's part of the payroll. So where you are to retain in your business for that 2020 to 2021 quarter and so forth. So there's video content on that. I'll leave you it down below where it goes more in depth. And then let me see if I'm missing anything. Grants opened. So quite a few grants have been opened. I don't want to get too specific because I can be spending a whole other hour on it. And I know how you guys like your grant videos and love following those YouTube videos who just talk about grants because they want to please the algorithms as well as appease their audience, which is fine. But it's just not something I want to spend too much time on right now. Just know that different states have opened. And I know somebody was wondering about Florida. So that one, yes, you guys can go ahead and check in Florida. But just do a quick search on Google with SSBCI and then next to it, your state. State Small Business Credit Initiative is what it stands for. And then your state next to it. So SSBCI Washington, California, Arizona. Or you can take out the abbreviation and put the whole rest of it. And you'll get organizations within the Treasury Department. So a lot of more funds, 500,000, 30,000, 40,000, however much it is, are being pumped into that per state. So make sure to check those out. Let me jump into the share screen here to show you a few documentation and we'll get going. So I wanted to show you guys this document because a lot of business owners, and I'll be releasing a post probably here soon on this, but people ask me like, wait, what is the underwriting? What are the rates? What can I actually qualify for? So this is just for a cash advance product, and it will look similar more or less with just about these other unsecured options like an unsecured term loan or a cash advance, primarily the two. Unsecured term loan may look a little bit different, but terms, they're usually dependent on your business type. What industry are you in? That, and then we look at the segment of it. Like if you're in IT support, what type? Are you a consultant? What exactly are you doing? What does the market look like for a consultant right now, which I have a lot of people in? You have revenue. You have credit. So this for this particular product, we could have put collateral, but that's what we're looking at for this one. That's unsecured. It's not based on secured term loans or anything like that, which is backed up by collateral. So A and B paper, this just means, hey, we can submit you over to our A or B tier client or tier lender, or you're classified as having these details, and a higher tier lender will come in and say, hey, yeah, we can help you out, and this is the best option you could have received. And an AB paper will usually be a weekly and a daily repayment. That's how these cash advances work. When there's a monthly repayment, we may be looking at the unsecured term loan options. And these are 12 to 24 months. You must have 50,000 plus in monthly revenue, 675 plus FICO credit score, 1+ year in business. C paper, you're considered. Weekly or daily repayment, still possible. 7 to 11 months is what you're going to get. You must have 25,000 in monthly revenue, 600 plus FICO credit score, 6+ months in business. And what you're looking at here, guys, it's the best. Like I said, I work with the best lenders and underwriters. I won't start naming them all. But if you think, oh, I can go better somewhere else, I'm going to go shop around for the lowest price. Be my guest. But don't come back complaining, and I should have, because a lot of people do. Over 90% of people who do go do that. And it's okay. I'm going to still be here to put my hand over your shoulder. I'm going to be here to help you. I won't patronize you or do any of that. But I have empathy for you. And I understand where you're coming from, because it isn't easy. But this is the standard. If you want the best of the best, you actually want the A, B, C, D plus tier lenders who are the best. And you're out there trying to seek something that doesn't exist, or somebody gives you a longer term with just to please you, but their interest rates are like 90% and above. And I have so many people who have just gone through that, and it's absurd. You don't need that. Some of you may, but not all of you, and so you just have to be careful about it. So let me come back into, so a D paper, daily payments is all you're going to get. 4 to 6 months, you must have 15,000 plus in monthly revenue, 500 plus FICO credit score, 4+ months in business. So if you don't have more than a 600 FICO credit score, and in today's market, 600 is putting it relatively low. It should be looking clean. Like I said earlier, credit utilization, all these things factor in your consumer credit reports. And these types of products, we don't have to look at it on business credit. We can just make a determination off of personal credit. So if you don't have business credit established, it can help. And even if you do, this is probably the best option to go for. You don't have to always get a monthly repayment. You're probably paying more towards the interest if you get an unsecured term loan. That's just almost the bottom line of everything. So if you don't have these details, stop coming over here and saying, hey, but I wanted 150,000. So what's happening in today's market, like I said, a lot of business owners are shooting for the stars. And they're saying, give me 2 million. I want 1 million. I want 50 million, 50,000. I don't even have anything in revenue yet. Understandable, because you're trying to protect yourself for your cash flow. You want to do what the EIDL loan does. Protect yourself because you've been hit hard. And then you want to also use this for expansion and growth. And then you want to use this later on 3 years down the line, but it doesn't work like that. Use what you can use. And what I recommend is not taking on too much debt. Because right now the interest rates have gone up. Your debt will go up. However, it's a question of how much time do you want and how much time do you need for what you're taking the capital for, especially for the lump sums. So don't be over here 10 years. Well, this project that needs to be funded doesn't even require you to have a year. And let alone you only qualify for 7 to an 11-month time frame. So at most, we might give you 9 months for this project because you only realistically needed 7 months. So why should we give you 15 months to purchase a big cargo van that's going to produce you income in the next 3 to 4 months, more realistically speaking? When you hire on 2 more employees, you get more inventory, you fix that tire of yours. So in those of you who qualify for more, it may be more justifiable. So that's just a way to look at it. So I'm going to show you guys one more thing and then we'll get going. Oh, down here, we saw D paper. Now for the rate for this specific service, here are more of the rates in our underwriting process. And I haven't showed you all the underwriting. So this is just quite a bit though. We make our determination on the total payback or the factor rates of a 1.19 to a 1.30. You can say that being like 19 to 30% interest. And these are the best clients, 19 to 30%. And you're like, that's still a lot. Yeah, but you have collateral to get you underneath 15%. Oh, no. Well, no. At most, if you're a paper lending client, then 19 to 30% is what you'll fall into. Well, I have equity. Let's look at securing it with equity. Let's look at securing it with real estate or equipment or accounts receivables, inventory, etc. But this is the way to do it. So what does it come down to? Yeah, you're not understanding your financial structure of your business. You work too much in your operations. You're doing the sales and marketing every day. But when do you ever take time to look at your finances, speak to your accountant and say, hi, accountant, can I afford to take a $300 a daily payment? This is a weekly repayment. but it looks like I'm paying it back on a $300 a day. I'm paying back $1,500 per week. Oh, no. Okay. But until they say yes, stop complaining. Stop saying that won't work. And some industries are more sensitive, so you will not receive more funding. You will just not receive more because the lenders are holding back. They can't give you as much money. So what do you need to do? Build the relationship. That's the number one thing you probably should take away from this video. Build the relationship with myself, because there's a lot of benefits when you come through me, not only bonuses, but a lot of stuff that I know with my lenders and my underwriters, where I tell my lenders and my underwriters, hey, Jimmy wants to sit on this for 2 weeks. Guess what? Another lender would have said no. That's just only one example. The power that I bring when you guys come through me, it's a lot. So where you would have been given one offer because we saw another person here, I said, hey, no, let's submit it here. We can get you 2 offers. And then you decide which one's the best one for you. That's on a lot of ways to go, but we're not going to we're not going to abuse your information. That's for sure. We're not spiking this. Some other brokers out there will be like, hey, I'm going to just send this guy's information to this other lender without him knowing, And so I get people with phone calls that say, man, I just had my bank statement sent to 5 different lenders. What the heck? And I give them the reasoning behind it. And I don't do any of that. I won't say, hey, but now that this didn't work, let's revisit something. If this makes more sense, now we can look at that option. But I'm going to let you know how this process works, how much faith we have in you, how much work is actually required, and so forth. So now let me come back over here. These are clients. So 1.19 to 1.3. Clients with great revenue over 50K a month, excellent FICO, 700 plus, and been in business 24 plus months. 2+ years, that's what it means. 24 months is what you can expect as a payback rate. And again, this is going to be industry specific too. So nowadays, specifically with variables, these are more fixed. So with variables you're seeing out in the SBA world, there's a lot of fluctuations with different industries. And I know all this information. I know which ones are getting what, and I know what you're not getting, for sure. Because I've been through it. I know my team. I know what's expected. So 1.31 to 1.49 or 31 to 49% are B2CD paper lending clients. This is B paper is a client with revenue of above 20K monthly, good FICO, which is 625 and above, and been in business 12 months, 1 year, but not 2+. See, lower monthly, lower FICO, lower yearly. It's not a proven enough business. We can't assess 1 year's worth of business and say we can give you the most amount of funding. In this case, we still consider your business in the newly established / startup phase. It's even a 2-year time frame. In today's market, 2 years isn't even enough, especially with the SBAs too. A minimum of everything you shouldn't be shooting for. You should be shooting for doubling that. 2 years? No, I have 4 years plus. 1 year? No, I have 2+ years. C paper is a client with 525 plus FICO in credit scores. Now we're getting very bad. D paper is a client with below 525. So don't come to me and say, well, I have 120,000 in average monthly revenue or my lowest month. Yeah, but you have a 525 FICO. Your rates are going to be closer to 49%, specifically because of your industry. So if assuming the amount you can get is this in a ballpark range, which I'm usually good at getting, then this is what you're expecting to repay back. Oh, yeah, these are unsecured. Bring me the collateral. How much do you want to give up in terms of accounts receivable? Well, we'll talk when you're ready. I'll explain it to you, but at the same time, I have my energy and time that needs to be focused. And so if I'm not spending it the way I need to be, and all I'm getting is a lot of, it's been explained to you, you just let it sit. Let's stop what we're doing, sit on it, go back into working in your business, come back to me when you're ready. But until then, don't complain. And the way I help you is unlike anyone else. I don't want to completely guarantee it, but I want to say that I don't over promise and under deliver. I don't overwhelm you. I won't do any of that. So let me come back over here. Rates, how are they calculated? How are they determined on what you can actually get? FICO, obviously, and that's a big part of terms. Time in business, other credit issues such as bankruptcies, if any, or number of current delinquencies, background checks, perhaps something happened in the past, no matter how long ago, that's restraining you from getting this funding or the amount you're actually wanting or anything at all. Criminal records, a lot of that stuff, lenders will not tolerate. Somebody may come in and help you, especially if your business is strong and you probably already received funding. So somebody comes in another position and says, hey, they've changed, we can help them. But to a degree that they're looking for, they have to build that over time. They won't get everything at once, or they won't get any at all. So lender partners take into consideration their time in business and monthly revenue dips when determining your rates. So fluctuations also, amount of deposits, how many deposits, etc. Other issues that may impact the rates that you get are the number of current funding positions, number of non-sufficient funds, NSS for shorts. And that's what we kind of get into, like the overdrafts, bounce checks, chargebacks, and so forth, okay? Having anything negative in the account will pretty much decline you. Any negatives in the last 3 months, done. You've gone underneath, boom, that won't help you. So other issues, as I spoke about, number of inquiries on credit from other lenders shows up too much. Daily balances along with a few factors. Other factors also most recently the state of our economy and the market, like you may get less funding with lesser terms. And that's what we're seeing all across the industry. So one last thing we'll get going. Before I get into the screen there, are you getting value out of this? Does this help you? Now, I know a lot of you probably didn't stay here for the full hour or so. But for those of you who did, kudos. We're busy. You might be doing something in the meantime while this is streaming live. Probably have an AirPod in your headphone, in your ear. Try to a lot. And I'm just listening. I'm absorbing. Coming back to it later. I got on calls today with a couple of business owners. Went through some of this stuff with them. I showed them their customized plan on what they need to do. The ball is in their court. They have to take a calculate. You have to be more calculated now. It's not an EIDL loan, guys. It's not a 30-year home mortgage. Refinance and do all this. Yeah, you can refinance after you pay off about 50% of your funds. We can look to add on more funds. Maybe don't get the exact amount you received last time or more, but add-on funds are available until you expire what you've been paying. But don't stack. Don't get an offer here and then accept and then go over here and accept. Don't do that. That'll get you declined usually for both. Or you already have the funds here and you're going to go over here and get another one just right away. Just usually doesn't end up working out in your favor. But be responsible. Take the time to understand how this works. So share screen and we'll go. So this is the questionnaire form you can fill out below to get a personalized and customized email response for your best funding option and options. Plus get a free 6-step pre-approval and lending checklist to get your proof of funding much faster. Literally, you can fill that out in less than 30 seconds. I may change that here where it says parentheses your mobile number preferred. Reason being is because I will text you once you fill out this questionnaire. And I'll notify you that I sent you the email so you can find it. And that's an easier way for me to get a hold of you instead of getting to call your business number and then you don't even answer your emails. Like, don't do that. Like, at least answer one or the other. But be frequent about it. Funding amount that you're requesting, time in business, FICO, you have established business credit, lowest monthly revenue in the last 3 or so months, your average monthly revenue use of funds, drop down, select the one you want. Existing business loan, yes or no? Very simple. Business industry, what's your business name? Any additional notes? Sometimes this will be required, so make sure if there's nothing there, put none. But if you're doing something like purchasing an existing business, for example, one of many, what exactly is it you're trying to do? You don't have to get so specific, but give me enough specifics. 85% of this being used for marketing, the other 15% being used for inventory. I need a term of 6 months to complete all this. Boom, done, good. Now I know what you're going to do. Now I know exactly. And I'll also ask it for you in the email if that hasn't been submitted yet. So it'll look like this more or less. Again, can change over time. So let me move this out of the screen now and let's conclude. So just about an hour in, Appreciate you all for tuning in. Very grateful, you could tell. I may jump over to TikTok if you guys want to follow me in there for a quick recap of what I just spoke about with a few expert tips and so forth. I'll probably take a break before then. But if you got value out of it, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with others who you feel will get value out of it. It can be a complete stranger, a friend, or a family member. But again, like I said, I truthfully say this, that I wish I was there. I wish I had somebody who was respectful and took the time to care about me. Because when I first got started in this world, having no money to push into my business, let alone for advertising, because I was working as a 9 to 5 employee and I was saving money, I just wasn't doing it the right way. Thinking about using my 401k, but I worked hard at what I was trying to do, and I'm so grateful and appreciative, and that's why I keep showing up for you guys, because it is very difficult to start off with nothing. You guys didn't see the sweat, the amount of tears, the amount of thoughts, how I wasn't as, what's the word? Compartmentalized. I've always been academically and so much more, but there were days where I just wanted to give up, days where I just wanted to say, hey, no. But I kept coming up. I kept showing up every day. I put up some points on the board. And that's what makes the ultimate difference, is continuing to iterate, continuing to explore, and then experiment on what already works and iterate that experience. A/B test it, figure out what works, do it again. Keep building, though. Don't ever fall back and think, well, I'm going to fall back on my ego. Nobody has time for egos. I don't want your ego. Go give it to someone else. But when you come to me, you come ready. You come ready because you're talking to a professional. You come to someone when you need to be short, be short. When you need to be more specific, do it. If all I give you is 15 minutes because I have another meeting or I have to go and do some projects, I will notice and I will say it. Just to wrap this up. And if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do so and click that bell notification icon so you do not miss any future videos I come out with. Everything in the description. Please refer there. Questions, comments, or concerns, comment box. And that'll be all. Talk to you all soon. Bye.